One of John Lennon's most brutally simple songs that happened to be on the White Album was I'm So Tired, because it came from an actual physical problem. See, he was in Rishikesh, India, he was trying to meditate, and he couldn't sleep. He later explained that he'd been meditating all day, then just lying there awake at night, exhausted but unable to switch his brain off. So the song's not really so much a clever idea, it's more like a sleep-deprived diary entry with a melody attached. And he said it was one of his favorite Beatles tracks, partly because he liked the sound of it, and also because he thought he sang it well, which he did. And the emotional engine underneath the song was Yoko Ono. Lennon was in India with Cynthia Lennon, but his mind was drifting toward Yoko, who was back in England. The line about his mind being set on someone was not really just a vague romantic complaint. It reflected the obsessive pull he was feeling toward Yoko before the relationship had fully begun. The song is basically insomnia plus desire plus guilt and then irritation, all crammed into just 2 minutes. That's why it feels so much more intimate than a lot of the White Album's bigger and stranger experiments. A rough version was recorded at George Harrison's house in Esher in May of 1968, when the Beatles demoed many of the songs they had written in India. The demo already had the basic shape of the finished song, but it also included an extra spoken-style section that didn't survive into the released version, as has been compared to the odd-spoken passage in Happiness is a Warm Gun. And that detail is pretty interesting because Lennon was still playing with the song's structure before stripping it down into something more direct and claustrophobic. The finished version was recorded on October 8th, 1968 at EMI during the same long session in which they also recorded the continuing story of Bungalow Bill, and I'm So Tired was completed in 14 takes and used all 8 available tracks. Even though it sounds loose and half asleep, it was rather heavily constructed. The session reportedly began around 4 p.m. and ran until 8 a.m. the next morning, which is almost too perfect. It's a song about being unable to sleep, was made during an all-nighter. The song's funniest little venom spit is Lennon cursing Sir Walter Raleigh, blaming him for bringing tobacco to England while he reaches for another cigarette. Then there's the famous muttering at the end, which later got dragged into the Paul is Dead rumor mill, when listeners played it backward and imagined hidden messages. Beatles historian Mark Lewison has identified the mumbling not as a death clue, but as Lennon saying something closer to, Monsieur, Monsieur, how about another one? So, the real story is better than the myth. I'm So Tired is not really a coded conspiracy. It's just John Lennon in India, fried from meditation, missing his dear Yoko, smoking a bit too many cigarettes, and turning insomnia into one of his sharpest little confessions.